Hey everybody, it's time for another episode of Miata News, and the big news that everybody's freaking out about right now is Toyota's new Miata Killer. I feel like I've seen this thing before. So if anybody remembers, back in 2015, Toyota showed off this concept car that was called the SFR, which was supposedly a little two-seater coupe that was a Miata Killer. And basically they showed it and then it just disappeared and nothing ever became of it. And now we're hearing that Toyota has greenlit this car. I have no way to confirm whether or not that's true. But anyway, let's take a look at that car and see what we think. First of all, I think they should rename this car. It shouldn't be called the SFR. It should be called the FSH, because that's what it looks like. It looks like a largemouth bass on wheels, basically. And supposedly the car is going to have a turbocharged 3-cylinder engine with about 150 horsepower. And I've also heard rumors that it's going to have a turbo 4-cylinder that is going to have more horsepower than the Miata. And ever since the Miata came out, there's been a whole bunch of Miata Killer cars out there, but most of them don't even exist anymore. I mean, some of them didn't even last like one generation. And let's face it, the Miata market is not huge. It's not a big seller. Any company that's going to make a competitor to the Miata is going to be taking a huge chance, especially considering Toyota already makes a competitor to the Miata. It doesn't really make sense that they would put out a car like this. Personally, I'm not going to worry about this car too much because who really knows if it's going to get made? And even if it does, there's a few things about it that make it so it doesn't really compete with the Miata. Like, one thing off the bat is it doesn't have a convertible top. Is it going to have a manual transmission? Who knows? I mean, this is Toyota we're talking about. Toyota, in my opinion, has been a company that's made a whole lot of boring cars, and they've taken some really awesome cars and made them as boring as possible. And I think a lot of these other Miata competitors don't really live up to the same standard as the Miata as far as fun is concerned. I mean, you know, on paper they look great and they look like they'd be a lot better than a Miata, but I'm not holding my breath that I'm going to see this car. Personally, I'd rather drive the Miata than pretty much any of the other ones that are out there. And I know some of them are fun. I know some of you like them, but we all have different opinions. You know, you're entitled to yours. I'm entitled to mine, and mine doesn't have to be yours. Bottom line. And speaking of new cars, one of the comments that I keep seeing over and over and over and over is how the new Miata is going to be a full-on EV and how that's just a deal breaker, blah, 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 blah. But I can't see Mazda, who has been really, really hesitant to get into the EV market, going full-on EV with the Miata, which is not a huge seller. They'd be losing a ton of money on it. And going full EV on a Miata, I think, would just completely kill it altogether. And my personal opinion is that it would be super difficult for Mazda to make a Miata that was light and fun and engaging as an EV. I just can't see that happening. I think just the very fact that it was an EV would completely kill all of those things. I mean, if you think people make fun of the NC for being big and heavy now, imagine an electric vehicle Miata. It'd be like the Titanic or the Queen Mary or something like that. It'd be huge compared to all the other Miatas. And lastly, there's no possible way that Mazda's going to be able to make an electric vehicle Miata that's anywhere near the price range of the current model. It's going to be like $50,000 or more, and I just can't see that happening. And my personal opinion, which is based purely on my gut feeling and not on anything that's been published by Mazda or any reputable automotive source out there, is that the next Miata is going to be a mild hybrid, and I'll bet money on that. And the reason why I say this is it would allow Mazda to make a Miata that's not 3,000 pounds or more because it's got all these heavy batteries in it. It would give it better acceleration off the line, could give it better gas mileage, and it would satisfy the electrification requirements that the US government is pushing for 2030. And that's my take on it, but I want to hear what you guys have to say on it. So post up in the comments about what you think the next Miata is going to be. So that's enough about the next Miata. Let's talk about the current model because I need to make a few corrections to things I posted earlier. One big one is that I said the 2024 Miata would come with start-stop technology in the US, and that is not true. It comes like that in the European market and other areas, but it does not come that way in the US. One other thing that I said was that it was going to come with brake ducts instead of the little fangs on the front, and that doesn't appear to be true either. It looks like they just put a little plastic blank-off plate in in there instead of filling it in or whatever. So it doesn't look like that's something we're going to get. Might be something you can do as a mod, but it doesn't look like Mazda's doing that, at least as far as I can tell. Another thing that I think is a little weird is that Mazda's website says that the radar cruise control option is only available on the GT with an automatic. Now, the funny thing about that is that I did see a video earlier where they tested an Aero Gray 2024 manual Miata with a soft top, and it definitely had the radar cruise control. You can see the little thing on the grill here, unless that's just a blank off too, so who knows. I haven't had the chance to see a 2024 in person, so I can neither confirm nor deny what's there, but as far as Mazda's concerned, they say that this feature is only available on Grand Touring with an automatic, which kind of makes sense. I mean, to be able to use the real features of that, you'd have to have an automatic, because as soon as you shift gears in a manual, it kicks cruise control off. Not sure how that would work with a manual, but you can just take that for what it's worth. And in other news, Project Ron is back on the channel. Yep, we're comparing the Turbo NB from Flying Miata against other Miatas, in this case a stock NB, and a 2019 ND2 Club, and another car that's a mystery that I'm not going to mention. So if you want to see some performance comparisons between those cars, check out the video. There'll be a link to it at the end of this one. And I'm betting that this video is going to get about 10 times as many views as that one will. And maybe you can prove me wrong, but I don't think so. And finally, I need to let you guys know that over the next couple months, I'm going to be a little scarce and my availability is going to be kind of hit and miss. I've got some personal things I have to deal with at home, and I'm going to do my best to keep cranking out videos, but that's going to come first, and I may have to kind of cut down my production schedule as if it's super fast as it is. But I was trying to crank it up, but yeah, this is going to kind of throw a monkey wrench in that machine. If you guys have questions or comments, please post them below. I'd be happy to answer them, and I'm just going to do my best to keep cranking out videos, but you know, that personal matters are going to come first. So anyway, that's all I have for today, and we'll see you next time.